Hello and welcome to the review of the new enhancements, visual and additional reports in the Portfolio Monitor. So to dive right in, we'll go to our Portfolio Monitor tab within the Zacks Advisor Tools, and we'll just do a quick overview as this is going to be a general overview of the system with the enhancements. So to start, what we're looking at is the main portfolio page. And to start, we've got these three headers up here at the top. Client/account library is going to be your portfolio housekeeping. It's going to be where everything's located once you put them into the system. So you can see I've already added a few in, but to add, you will just come in here. You can click on one, and you can say Add Portfolio. And when you do that, it's going to put it into the system for you to review. These are the portfolios that I have currently added. I have IVV ticker, which is just the IVV, risk profile, which is one of my risk portfolios that I like to review, and then the ECP Core 75. The next tab we've got is to create a new portfolio. So of course, to get portfolios into the client/account library, you have to create one manually or do one through our file system. So to create a new portfolio, you can select what you want to do, whether it be tickers and shares, tickers and weights, tickers only. You'll add your portfolio name, and then you'll add the tickers that you want in the portfolio. Similarly, you can click on Create Portfolio from File, and you can click which template that you want to download. When you click it, it'll open an Excel file that you'll be able to fill out based on your portfolio. When you save it down, you can then say Choose File and select the one that you've created, say Create Portfolio, and it'll put it into the system as well. So when we do that, now we have the portfolio in the system. I'm going to drag my ECP Core 75 up here, and you can see this is the overview. The value, the change, percent change. I'm going to click on holdings. This is going to show you information for all the holdings in the portfolio. You can see we've got a whole bunch of them coming in here, and it gives you some of the general metrics for the portfolio information. Next, we're going to have the Zacks research, and you can see we've got the Zacks rank. So all of the holdings in the system, if it's got a rank, you'll be able to see, and you can sort based on the rankings. And then you've got the reports and the snapshot reports, anything available for that particular security. Then you can set alerts. So alerts are great. You can create a group of portfolios. You can create a client. You can look at individual accounts, models, prospects, whatever you want to look at. You can set alerts. So some of the alert options that we'll talk about quickly here is we do create edit alerts. You can say, I want an alert whenever there's a Zacks change for something in the portfolio, Zacks rank change. You can click on that and you'll get an alert for that. Or you could set a market cap alert. So if you have a particular client who doesn't like to have holdings that fall under a specific market cap level, you could set that and you could save the alert. And if something falls under that threshold, you'll know. Then lastly, we have the news section. So for the tickers within this portfolio, you'll be able to look at all of the news associated with those holdings. So you can see them popping up right here. You can click on them and it'll take you to the news information for those. Now to dive into the news, the bulk of it, we'll go into the reports. So right here on the right-hand side, we've got our reports. We'll talk about the diversification report first. We'll go down in order. So starting with the diversification report, let's look at a sector breakdown. So now what we're looking at the ECP Core 75 sector breakdown. You can see how this kind of works out. And many of you who have used this before, you'll notice the new enhancements to the visuals. And if you haven't, well, this is what we're looking at for diversification report. So we've got our table of holdings. We've got the pie chart up here, or donut chart, I suppose, with the different sector pieces. And then at the bottom, similarly to what you saw at the top, you'll have the portfolio totals. Now let's compare that to a comparison portfolio. So I'm going to click on this. And I want to look at versus the S&P 500. So that's where this IVV ticker comes into play. So now what I'm looking at is the ECP Core 75 versus IVV. And we can now get a sense for the difference in the sector information. So you get the same information, you get the holdings, but now we'll see that we have the portfolio and the comparison totals and then the difference. You'll also be able to see that up here as well. Now, one of the big new components is the Save as PDF. So when you click on Save as PDF, it's going to create a nice PDF report for what you're looking at. So we got the sector breakdown that opened up down here. And we've constructed a nice one-page report with our information. So you've got the sector breakouts. It's something now that you can present to the clients or, internally. They'll give you a good sense of what you're looking at. So this, again, is a sector comparison report for our primary portfolio, which is the ECP Core 75 versus the IVV ticker. You get some general information. So the headers, you can put your logo in here. The emails, phone numbers, some of that stuff is customizable for what you are trying to accomplish within the system. Okay. All right. So again, there's a couple different diversify by options. You've got asset allocation, credit rating, maturity breakdown, fixed income sector exposure, coupon breakdown, regional exposure, and sector exposure breakdown. Those are all available to you. You can kind of dive into any one of those you want. The next thing we're going to talk about is a performance analysis report. So if I click on performance analysis, we'll get a little bit additional options within this interface now. So with the performance analysis, we can now set history, starting value, and our rebalancing frequency. And you'll notice we're still looking at our main portfolio, which is the ECP Core 75 versus IVV. And you can see how in this 10-year time frame, the difference in the returns and the value that it would have generated if you were to be holding the ECP Core 75 versus the general S&P 500. So we've got our 10-year return chart. And if we come down a little bit more, you'll get your calendar year breakdowns right here. You'll get year to date, and then you'll get some of your trailing returns, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, and you get a good sense of the difference between the two. Breaking it even further, now we're looking at portfolio values. So we've got the difference in portfolio value where one would be versus the other had you held it for this 10-year time frame, as well as the percentage. And a risk return. So what is the risk level versus the return? And you can see the ECP 75 is not only a higher return, but it's also less risky. And likewise, with our other report, we now have this as saved PDF, and it will give you a nice one-page report for this, what we're looking at right here. So we'll go ahead and save as PDF, and we'll have that open at the bottom here. Go, it's coming up. Performance analysis. Now you can see we've got a nice one-page performance analysis report that you can again bring, to a client. You can say, hey, this is this is my model portfolio here. This is where you're at right now. It's just a good view to show them, especially ones who are looking for a little bit higher return, and in this case, a less risky portfolio as well. So it's a nice one-page report to bring forth to your client. Now we'll hop into the comparison report. This is a blend of a little bit of the both that we looked at. So this is going to let you, and I'll switch this to sector breakdown again. So this is going to let you run some elements of performance analysis and some elements of diversification. And it's going to give you a kind of a four-tiered approach that is a nice one, a nice powerful one-page report to bring forward to prospects or current clients to show how they're doing versus a model, how they're doing versus a potential, if you're trying to make a potential sale. So what we've got here, we've got the sector breakdown. So we've got our diversification up here at the top of, again, ECP Core 75 versus the S&P 500 ETF IVV. Then you're going to get your return. So there's your diversification component. And now we're going to move into our return component right here. So we still can show, all right, here's your diversification, one versus the other. And now here is what that would have led to for return. Further down, now we're talking money. So had you invested in, my model portfolio, in this case, the ECP, you would have generated an additional $121,000 over this time frame. We've got the risk metrics to show how one is, compares to the other in terms of riskness, and then expenses. So, how, if I were to be in one versus the other, what is that going to run in terms of expenses as well? So the ECP tracks individual companies, individual ticker stocks. So there is no expenses associated with that, where the IVV does have an expense. So not only does the ECP trend higher in returns, a little bit less risky, it also doesn't have any expenses. So I think this is something, you could present to your client as a four-tiered approach: diversification, return, monetary return, risk, and expenses. Okay. Now, the last report touching on risk a little bit further, this is a new one. So we've got the risk analysis report. So this is now going to show a couple new pieces of information and, another strong chart to show. So, when we talk about ECP Core 75, we're talking about mitigating a little bit of risk, based on the holdings that we're in versus the IVV ticker. Now we're looking at the scenario risk right here. You can kind of see how that works out. So the scenario risk is going to be one of the new charts within the risk comparison that is going to show you the impact or how a portfolio return versus a comparison portfolio in significant market situations, in this case, significant downside markets. So in the financial crash, ECP, 24% difference, which is big. In the bear market, you've got a 9% difference, almost trending at 0%, and not getting close, not losing anything. COVID crash similarly, every single time it beat out. Again, we've got the risk return that we saw a little bit in the performance analysis. Now we dig into the bulk of the risk here. So what we're showing here is a table of individual stocks, and it's showing you the weights for those. Showing you the different risk metrics associated. So we've got 13 or so risks that I haven't counted here, but we've got some of the big risk components that people somewhat look for in their portfolios, and trying to evaluate portfolios internally, as well as something to bring to more savvy clients who want to know what the risks are associated with their portfolio. So we've got the individual breakouts for the companies. So all 75 of them here, and then how that trends against the portfolio. So again, we're looking at portfolio totals, and we're talking about portfolio totals. This is compared to your comparison. So these portfolio totals are going to be how it's stacked up versus the IVV, basically S&P 500 ETF. And then just some general comparison totals as well, based on just the return numbers essentially. And you can see how it kind of trends a little bit worse than the ECP portfolio here. So that's the new risk one. Again, just like any of the other ones, save as PDF. It's going to give you a nice one-page risk report to bring to clients or for internal meetings. And that is the portfolio monitor with heavy emphasis on the reports. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the helpline or the phone number here that could be found under support. Contact us. Feel free to give us an email, give us a call if there's anything you need. We are here to help you. That is what we do. We try to make everything as easy as possible for you guys in learning, understanding, and really using the system to its fullest. So thank you all for watching, sitting in with me, and have a great rest of the year here.